This party's over.
Today we're going to be talking about Star Wars on our tier list, specifically the members of the Jedi High Council. There are 20 members in total we're going to be talking about today. Everybody who was on the council between the events of Star Wars The Phantom Menace and Star Wars Revenge of the Sith. I'm only going to be wading in about ankle deep when it comes to lore. I know there's a lot more for all of these characters, but I know only going that deep is still going to be more than enough water for me to drown myself in. So if I do get something wrong, please let me know in the comments what it is. Before we get into the ranking, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any of the videos that we put out every single week. Let's get to the ratings. In the first seat of the council, we have Plo Koon. Now, Plo Koon is a male Keldor. Now I know I'm probably going to say some of those names wrong, but his species is like a Keldor. They can't, breathe oxygen, so he's got to wear these masks and cover his eyes too. He's got a really cool look. He himself fought in the Clone Wars and wasn't hesitant to go alongside with some of his clone troopers into dangerous missions, things where he might not come out alive. So he was brave and obviously somebody that a lot of people looked up to be able to make it onto the council at all. He died during what's called Order 66, which is when all the clone troopers were pretty much activated by Darth Sidious, who was Chancellor Palpatine, into the order to kill all of the Jedi. He was killed when he was flying a spaceship, and so it makes more sense than a lot of when the Jedi get massacred by clones. He was playable in Jedi Power Battles on the PlayStation, so this is always a guy that just looked cool, kind of bug-looking face. I think I'm gonna be putting him in the A tier. And I forgot to mention, we're only going to be putting 4 people in each category, or up to 4. We can have less if we want. But Plo Koon is going to be sitting there in A tier for me easily. Now, Mace Windu has a couple different things we've got to consider. He was voted as the boss of the High Council, like they elect a leader pretty much to just be in charge of getting things done. And so he's got that going for him. He does have a purple lightsaber, thanks to Samuel L. Jackson saying to George Lucas that he just wanted a purple lightsaber because it would look cool. He's not wrong. He himself was taught by Yoda, and so that's a good line to be coming through if you're wanting to be a Jedi. And he's really good at fighting. He is able to beat Darth Sidious in a lightsaber duel, which is something that some other people on this list are not going to be able to say that they did. But it isn't all good when it comes to Mace Windu. He's kind of a jerk. He's really a stickler for the rules, really to a fault. And his treatment of Anakin Skywalker and his dealings with Darth Sidious and how that all went down really kind of led to the perception that was the downfall of the Jedi in a lot of people's eyes. If you're just going off power level, this guy's got to be super high, especially if you're watching the old Cartoon Network Clone Wars shorts. But when it comes to how excited I would be if Mace Windu was going to be my master, maybe not a ton. So I think he's going to land in the middle. C tier, I'm happy with him being there. Samuel L. Jackson, of course, gets great lines in the movie and delivers them phenomenally. Yoda's going to be next on our list, and Yoda, he really tries his best. He's wise, and he seems to be pretty caring. He really, kind of looks out for Anakin and wants to help him, kind of deal with his problems more than, Mace Windu does, obviously. Now, we don't know what species Yoda is. It's just Yoda's species is what it gets listed as everywhere. But Yoda has, again, a lot of things going for him. He survived Order 66 and the Great Jedi Purge, when Darth Vader was going around and trying to kill off all of the rest of the Jedi that had survived the clones' original attack on them. He was the master to a ton of different Jedi, some of them pretty good, like Ki-Adi-Mundi and Mace Windu, but he did also train Count Dooku, and then, ultimately down the line, he went on to, master Luke Skywalker, who would bring, balance to the Force again at the end of the original trilogy. I think it would be wrong to put Yoda anywhere but S tier on this list. Now, Ki-Adi-Mundi is a male serene, I think is how you would say. That's my guess based on the spelling. And he has a weird shaped head, but we're living in the Star Wars universe, so we're not going to be judging anybody by what species they are or anything. He's got some pretty cool facial hair. I'm really going to point out his eyebrows. I've always thought that they were pretty cool. He's really concerned about the Wookiees.
What about the droid attack on the Wookiees?
So it's nice to know that he's got other people in mind when it comes to making decisions. But when it comes to his survival skills, he leaves a lot to be desired. I feel, out of almost every Jedi that is depicted in the actual movie, Revenge of the Sith, being killed by the clone troopers, feels like maybe the most, like, oh, okay, I guess he's just dead. But again, maybe he's just caught by surprise. And there were a lot of them, so let's not be too rough on him. I'm comfortable with him being in B tier. And the last of the original 5, Saesee Tiin, is going to be an F tier for me. There's got to be some people down there. And for me, all I know about this guy is that he fought in the Clone Wars, and then he was like immediately killed by Darth Sidious when him and a couple other Jedi, who we'll see in a little bit, go with Mace Windu to confront Palpatine about his role as a Sith Lord, and he just gets wasted. And so I know they try to say that Darth Sidious is so powerful and that's why he's able to kill those Jedi so quickly, but if you just watch the movie, it's just like, wow, those guys got whooped by that old dude. Though if we are talking about his actual look, I do think he looks pretty cool. His horns are awesome. I think he's called an Iktachi, and yeah, you know what? Okay, he's got to come up. He's got to come up from F tier. He at least was going to go and fight Darth Sidious. Let's put him in C tier. Sure, he can be in C for now, but maybe he'll move down later. But it just didn't feel right being in F tier. Let's move him up. Next up on our list is a Jedi Master named Yaddle. And Yaddle is the only other one of Yoda's species until Grogu showed up in The Mandalorian. She's been a Jedi for a long time, but really not a ton out there of note to point out for her. She is known in the books for having caught a 12-year-old Qui-Gon Jinn practicing with his lightsaber and sending him to bed. That's one of the main things that Wikipedia wanted to point out about Yaddle. She does show up in episode 1, and then she's gone. And so I'm going to be putting her down in D tier. She doesn't do anything that would be egregious, like nothing that's so bad that I got to knock her down, but just nothing also that is really special about her either. Now we get to Evan Piell, or Evan Piell, I think it's Evan Piell, who is a Atlantic, and this is the first guy on the Jedi Order that when I was actually looking into all of this, my opinion of him grew something. I was like, oh man, he's actually pretty cool. Like, I was really into Star Wars as a kid and kind of fell off. I haven't watched all of Clone Wars or anything. And so I was discovering different things about some of these characters. And, this guy is pretty sweet. I like that Wikipedia points out that he's known for his courage. That's something that you want to have, in a teacher or in a buddy that you're going around doing missions with. He served in the Clone Wars as a general, and then eventually was kidnapped and tortured and was going to be rescued by Luke Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi and Ahsoka, but he didn't make it out of that mission alive and was killed by essentially like a giant saber-toothed cat, which is called an Anuba. I'm going to put him in the B category above Ki-Adi-Mundi for sure. Now, Oppo Rancisis is a weird-looking guy. He's got a huge beard, and he is a Thespian, I think. And he, again, fought in the Clone Wars like most of these guys did, as like pretty much all of them did. If you were alive by the time the Clone Wars started, you were fighting in them. Now, he's pretty cool because he was born to a royal family and was, discovered to have Jedi abilities, and so went off to train. And then while he was training, he found out that he was able to go and take the throne that was rightfully his, but he turned it down to be able to continue his Jedi training with Yaddle as his master. And, I think that's pretty cool. I think that that's a story that we never saw in the movies. I know that kind of stuff shows up in the comics and in Clone Wars and stuff more often. But, that'd be a cool story to see in a movie. Now, we don't know when or how he might have actually died, or even, I guess, even if he really did die. But we do know for sure that he escaped Order 66 because he shows up on a list later of Jedi that Darth Vader is looking to try to kill. And so, man, this guy is pretty good in my book. I'm going to be moving him up again to B tier. If he had been known for his courage, then perhaps he would be one step higher. The Thalothian Gallia is next up on our list. She was one of the Jedi that, again, was in Jedi Power Battles, and like we had the action figure for her when Episode 1 came out, and they were putting out every single character, and you wanted to get every single character because they had like the little talking chips that you could scan and hear the voice lines. Didn't really know much about her besides that she was a Jedi and was a girl, which were pretty rare in the Star Wars universe at the time. During the Clone Wars, she went on a mission to rescue Eeth Koth from General Grievous, and so she's pretty brave. General Grievous, man, he's so cool in everything but Episode 3. She would later go on to, get into a fight with Darth Maul and his brother Savage, and would ultimately die in that confrontation. So if you're going to go out, those are some pretty good guys to, go out fighting, because they are super cool. And so I'm going to be putting Adi Gallia up in I'm going to put her in A tier, because, she's pretty, just like, kicking a lot of butt, and I just don't think that we get enough just like straight butt kicking. So like, good for her. Now, George Lucas, I'm sure, was having a great time just naming all of these characters, because, he gets to make money off of every single one of them that sells an action figure. But Yarael Poof is the next one on our list. He's a queer main, and I like that the Wikipedia article of talking about him mentions that like he knows how to use a lightsaber and all that stuff, but he was way more known for being a master of the Jedi mind trick. We don't really know a ton about him. We do know that he got killed before the Clone Wars actually started, while he was out on a mission. And you look at him and look at that neck, dude. Like, how do you walk around without, like, you can't be that fast. But he does have a nice face, very friendly. Unless he's got really sharp teeth, then he'd look like one of those little Garignac guys from Galaxy Quest. I'm going to be putting him down in D tier 2 with Yaddle. Not because I hate him or anything, but I just don't think he seems very cool. Maybe I'm missing something with him. If I am, from Jedi Master Poof, please let me know. If you're like, if you knew this about him, he would be an S tier for sure, let me know. Because I bet there's something about every one of these guys. Like, if you knew this, then it would be a difficult thing to go off of. But, like I mentioned before, we're working with a limited Star Wars knowledge here. Proven my limited Star Wars knowledge by my pronunciation of Eeth Koth, or Eeth Koth, again. He's the same kind of dude as Darth Maul, but he's a nice version, which means that he's not, like, looking like the devil. Now, here's another character that I really didn't know anything about, but like the more that I read about him, the cooler he was. Like, he served in the Clone Wars, obviously. He was kidnapped by General Grievous, was ultimately, rescued from that. He was voted out of the Jedi Council, and then later would go on to become a priest of the Church of the Ganthic Enlightenment. And that's where he would serve for a while, right? Until eventually Darth Vader comes a knocking, trying to wipe out all these Jedi. But even worse than that, he's showing up to like abduct his daughter to be able to, use her to build up his own forces of Force users, but also, stop the Jedi Order from being able to rebuild it all. And so not only does he show up, kill Eeth Koth, but he takes his daughter. And I like this guy because he's willing to look at, the Jedi and say, like, I'm really not interested in everything that they're laying down. I'm going to go off and do my own thing. And not, like, become a bad guy, but go off and, just do something that he thinks is good. It's a shame that, he dies because of it. But I'm going to put him up in A tier as well. I'm putting him above Plo Koon. I like his hair. Depa Billaba is next up on the list, and she was a Padawan learner underneath Mace Windu, served during the Clone Wars, was on the council, like was put into a coma because of injuries that she had, came out of that, decided to take on a Padawan learner who would later go on to become a big player in the Star Wars universe, especially in the TV show Rebels. And not only did she have a Padawan, but she gave her life to help protect him when Order 66 was happening. And that's really the kind of person that you would want to be, learning under, somebody who they are absolutely showing that they actually care about you. That's not something you're going to get from Mace Windu. But anybody who's willing to like step down from a high position to be able to go out into the field and everything, whether or not it was because like she really had a choice in it, I think that that's pretty noble. And I think she's going to fill out our A tier right there. We're going to go below Plo Koon though. No, we'll go above Plo Koon. So we're officially going to be out of the original 12 now, which means we're going to be replacing people who are in the Jedi Order. Now, because the Clone Wars get kind of messy, it is hard to tell exactly who is replacing who at some points, and there's some arguments about that online. So anyway, though, let's start with Shaak Ti, who we do know for sure was replacing Yaddle. She's a Togruta, one of those. She was considered one of the wisest among the Jedi, so, you know, that's something you want to have when you're learning from somebody. And she's had like 8 different deaths in the different Star Wars canons that counted. Like there was a deleted scene in Revenge of the Sith, which now it's like, they're like, no, that's not how she died. And how she died is like almost worse even than like getting killed by General Grievous. See, like during the Clone Wars, she was kind of made the representative that helped out with the clones and the cloning facility on Kamino, and so she was there and kind of got tangled into these different conspiracies that were going on, where they're finding out about the inhibitor chips, the things that made it so the clones would turn on the Jedi. And through her time in working with the clones, she developed like this compassion towards them, like as their own people. And so she had this conflict of, you know, wanting to, you know, kind of support them and help them, but at the same time also, you know, knowing that she was supposed to be building this like perfect soldier. And then eventually she gets put in charge of like helping protect, you know, Palpatine, but then everything goes down during the Battle of Coruscant and he gets captured and she's like wounded, and so she's, you know, hanging out at the Jedi Temple and like recouping when the rest of the stuff goes down that is happening in Revenge of the Sith. And so though she isn't killed during Order 66, she is killed during the Jedi Purge. And what that is when Anakin, or he used to be Anakin, now Darth Vader, is going around and killing all the Jedi, and the purge of the Jedi Temple, where he goes in and murders a bunch of kids, but also murders just a bunch of other Jedi as well. She was one of the Jedi that was there, and she put out a holocron, which is like a message to Force users that whoever would find it would not let, you know, this big bad thing that was happening be the end of the Jedi, but that they should persevere. And so I think that that's cool too, that in that such a dark moment, she's like pushing people to be like, there's still hope and don't give up. So because of that, and her compassion towards the clones, which I think is a cool thing too, I think I'm going to put her up in the S tier. She's obviously not above Yoda. Plus I feel bad that she's had to die so many times. Coleman Trebor is going to be our first real F tier. I'm going to feel very confident about that. All I know him from before I looked into this was he was the guy who showed up on Geonosis and got killed by Jango Fett. That's all I got. Fisto had a Padawan, but he got killed by General Grievous. And so again, if you're looking at teachers and you're like, well, what happened to their old students? It's like, well, they were fighting against somebody together and the student got killed. That does kind of knock you down on the list of whether or not I want you to be my teacher or not. Killed while being taught really kind of, you know, is a bad Yelp review. So I'm going to be putting Kit Fisto not too high on the list. Plus, he got killed by Darth Sidious, again, really quickly. So I guess C is kind of turning into our you got killed by Darth Sidious ranking. Obi-Wan Kenobi is going to be S tier though, top of the list. He's just the coolest. Plus, if you're talking episode 3 Obi-Wan, he's got his super cool hair and his beard is just like perfect. Like maybe the best beard ever. But outside of like those kind of things, he also was the first to fight a Sith in like 1,000 years. And not only did he fight Darth Maul, he defeated him and seemed to have killed him at the time. I like that he stood by his word to his dying master and said that he would train Anakin even if the council wasn't behind that decision. So he's willing to stand up for you, like as your teacher, which is something that is important to have. You know, and with Anakin during the Clone Wars, because they're the main characters of the show, they participated in almost every big mission that happened. He survived Order 66. He defeated Darth Vader in lightsaber combat, which is something that not very many people can say. And then later on, he would give his life to protect his new Padawan, Luke Skywalker. And so, again, just showing that he's selfless and wants his students to survive is better than, Kit Fisto. Now, Coleman Kcaj is the bane of my researching existence when it came to this video. Now, it might not seem like it, but I actually do look into things quite a bit before I make some of these videos. And this guy really just kind of messed up on like who took whose place. Even if we knew exactly where he came from, it doesn't help out his, his resume. When you look through his Wikipedia article, the main thing it says is he was present. He was present for this. He was present for that. And though he didn't really do anything of note while he was on the council, he did survive the Jedi Purge, and we're not aware of where he is. All that we know is that he is on a list of Jedi that Darth Vader still wants to get out there and find. And so that is going to help your rating, not getting murdered. So I'm going to put him low B tier. He survived, and so, maybe he did get into some good business while he was out there. There are still more stories to tell. Stass Allie replaces Adi Gallia on the Jedi Council, and they were actually cousins, and so, that makes sense. She was known for being a great Force healer, which is something that, would be useful, right? If you're a teacher, it seems like you get in a lot of fights if you're a Jedi, even though you're supposed to be, about peace, but you still are getting beat up and killing a bunch of stuff all the time. So it's nice to have a healer around. She was ultimately killed during Order 66 when she was on a speeder bike, and she got blowed up and crashed. She's going to be in D tier because of that. I'll put her high end of it. Agen Kolar, a male Zabrak, is going to be the next one on our list, and he fought in the Clone Wars from the very beginning. He was at the Battle of Geonosis, and again, one of these guys who's out with his Padawan, and his Padawan got killed during the Battle of Geonosis. He took his Padawan's lightsaber and put the crystal from his into his own, which explains why his lightsaber changes colors between the two movies. So that's all nice, right? A guy who's going to remember you if you do die as a teacher, which is nice. I don't know if Kit Fisto would do that, but ultimately his Wikipedia article is going to get him to the low end of C for me, because again, he is somebody who confronts Darth Sidious, and it doesn't go well. He gets killed. In fact, I really think it's funny that it points out in the article that he is killed near effortlessly. He's near effortlessly killed by Darth Sidious, and that is just pretty funny to me. So it's going to get him to the lower end of C. Which brings us to our last Jedi. We can't say Jedi Master because he is on the council but not granted the rank of Master, and that's going to be Anakin. So we have to take everything into account, right? Anakin's the chosen one, so it's like, wow, that's pretty cool. Going to be a powerful Jedi. You want to learn from him, right? But he's not a Master, so he's not ranked as high as everybody. But hey, that's just, that's semantics. We don't need to worry about that. He's the chosen one. Who cares if he's a Master or not? No matter how unfair it is. Now, he's a great pilot, but, there's that flip side where he did kill a bunch of Jedi, including a bunch of children. But, he's great at fighting. Yeah, but, but his only other Padawan was expelled from the Jedi Order for a crime that she didn't commit. So, that's not, again, a great track record. But, he's got a cool robot hand. But ultimately, he turned pretty evil. So, I think he might be the bottom of the barrel. I'm not saying that not a good character and everything, but not going to be very good for me. So, and that's going to be my tier list. How does it make you feel? Are you angry? Good. Don't let your anger consume you. Instead, just leave that comment, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Thanks for being here. See you again next Saturday. Bye.